Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and this video is called the 10 Minute Terrarium. So I'm going to show you how to make a terrarium in 10 minutes. It's a real easy terrarium, and I'm going to give you some tips and guidelines for how to do it and what to select. So here's a look at the materials I'm going to use. Some kind of a glass container, and for this tutorial I'm going to use this container. A plant, a single plant. I also call this the single plant terrarium or the Zen terrarium. So very easy to do, very easy to make. Some Spanish moss or sphagnum moss, and I'll explain what that's for. Some stones or some small pebbles or rocks for drainage, and some good potting soil. You want to use a quality potting soil because that's all that the plant has to go on inside the enclosed terrarium, so you want to use a high quality potting soil. You want to get yourself a few tools. I use a coat hanger here, it really works well. You can manipulate things inside your container. You also have some sticks. You can use wooden spoons or any kind of a long wooden tools to reach inside there. Let's look at some of the different containers. The first decision you have to make when you're doing a quick terrarium like this, a single plant terrarium, is what container you're going to use. And I like this container. And there's all different variety of sizes and shapes. The thing to note is that you want something that can be covered, put a cover on it, and you also want the smaller the container, the more challenging it's going to be for you to make because of reaching in there and doing all the little detail work. So, and also the size of the opening is a big factor that you got to consider. Now you can use something like this, but you got to get your plant in there. So make sure your plant is able to fold up gently and go inside, and that you can get your tools in there to work on it. And that the smaller the mouth and the smaller the container, the more dramatic it is, and usually the better looking it is. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to use this big container so you can see everything easily. Okay, once you've selected your container, now you're on the hunt to find a plant to go in it. So you have to think about the aesthetics of the container and the plant. Like, for instance, if you have a thin container, you want to choose a thin and small plant. I mean, it only makes sense. I'm using this container, and it has that beautiful fullness to it, so I've chosen myself a plant that has a fullness to it that'll fill it up nicely. So you think about the aesthetics and what's going to look good inside that container. Like a single stemmed flower might not look so good. It might look good in there, but you want to tend to use the size of the container. So I've chosen this. And another thing about this is you want to choose a plant that's very interesting to look at. Either has unusual leaf shapes, an unusual pattern of growth, or and if you can, something with a splash of color that'll make a big difference. Like I like the purple of this. It has a nice splash to it, so that should look pretty good in there. First you pour in a layer of pebbles. And for this size container, about 1 inch is good. The smaller the container, the thinner the layer. But what this does is it allows the water to seep down, and with sunlight that water will creep back up, evaporate, and fall back down. So that's a place to reside the water. But if you don't want to put soil directly on that, because the soil will fall in between and get all mushy and kind of be muddy. So that's why you have the sphagnum moss or the Spanish moss. And what you do is you create a flat bed to go right on top of those stones. So you make a flat bed, and this serves as an insulation to keep the soil on top and keep the stones underneath so you don't get a lot of mud. Okay, next I've cut down the roots for this flower so I can fit it in there, and I'm going to drop that right in there carefully so I don't damage it, and then I'm going to push it down. Now once I've got that positioned the way I want, I'm going to use my funnel here that I made out of paper to fill in the soil. And I'm using a funnel because I don't want to sprinkle soil all over the plant. Keeps it cleaner. Okay, once you get enough soil in there, you tamp it down and make it strong so the plant can take a nice root. The soil is firm. And my coat hanger works really well for this. Okay, now it's just about done. I've got it all looking good. Now you would gently put a little bit of water in there, either with something to pour or by spraying. And only put a small amount of water, and you can monitor it over the course of the next few the next few days and add more water as needed. If you overwater, take your cover off and leave it in the sunlight so the water can evaporate out of it until you get the right mixture. So that's it. That's the 10-minute single plant Zen terrarium. Let's get a closer look here. And try to think about if you're going to display it only from one angle or if you want to be able to rotate it and have it look good from a lot of different angles.